only 2 weeks left in LEC Spring 2026 regular season. And after this weekend, we now know that 3 teams are guaranteed to make playoffs, KC, Team Vitality, and Navi, and 3 teams have absolutely missed playoffs, Team Heretic, Shifters, and SK, and that leaves us with 4 teams in the middle, all competing for the last 3 remaining spots, which means only one of them is going to miss playoffs. And in this video, I'm going to go over every single scenario, the likelihood of those scenarios, to tell you exactly who is going to make playoffs and who one team will not. Fucking shocker, it's Fnatic. Okay, well, I think there's some interesting things I want to bring up as to how I can guarantee you that that's going to be the conclusion. Because it is, I mean, literally so impossibly bad for them right now. Well, where should we begin? First and foremost, tiebreakers. So, if you can see by the score lines right now, technically things are pretty close. GX is at 4-2. G2 is only at 3-2, so is KOI. Meanwhile, Fnatic is at 2-5 and could technically end at 4-5. So in theory, there could be a few teams that end at 4-5. But here's the thing. According to the rules, in the event of a tiebreaker in this regular season, we will look to head-to-head wins. Now, one thing that you notice here is that I underlined in green the head-to-head wins number 1 and completely crossed out in red the second, third, and fourth case scenarios of trying to break a tiebreaker in the event that there's a tie. The reason I did that is because when you are dealing with a single round robin, whether it be best of 1s or best of 3s, you will never have an instance of 2 teams being tied that do not have a definitive result when it comes to their head-to-head. So, for example, let's say Fnatic and G2 both finish at 4-5. Well, in terms of their single individual head-to-head matchup, it will be Fnatic moving on to playoffs because they beat G2 when they faced off together or against each other in the regular season. I could be mistaken, and I will give that kind of edge case because I'll talk about it in a minute. Just bear with me. I do believe I might be mistaken since obviously there is some explicit rules being listed here, and if I thought of this, I am sure that the LEC organizers thought of this, so maybe I'm missing something. But from my understanding, it would just come down to the head-to-head unless there's some numerical system where it's like, oh, you get points for winning the head-to-head against KC, but not the head-to-head against... I doubt that's the case. I am sure it's just the head-to-head between the team you're tied with. Anyway, not to waste retention here. Oh, by the way, subscribe. 1,000 subs by the end of May. Come on. I know most of you guys are already here still. Subscribe. Thank you so much. Daily videos. Let's go. All right, so let's go over each individual scenario. So if we are in a... I should not have said best of 1s. My mistake. It's a single round robin. And you guys aren't even going to see that because everything is so blocked off here. Anyway, single round robin. Then where does that leave us? Well, there's a few things we can deduce. This almost feels like a game of like Sudoku or Myrtle. If you look at Fnatic, their head-to-head matchups go as follows. Fnatic has lost to KOI, and we're comparing them to the other 3 teams who are technically in contention for missing playoffs. They lost a head-to-head to KOI. They lost a head-to-head to GX, but they have beaten G2 in the head-to-head. What does this mean? Well, because Fnatic only has 2 more series to play, they are currently at 2 wins. That means at best, they are going to have a 4-5 record. Giant X already has 4 wins. So, in the unlikely event that Giant X loses the last remaining 3 series that they have to play and they finish at 4-5, which is their worst case scenario, they will at best tie with Fnatic, who they beat in the head-to-head, which tells me Giant X have officially locked playoffs. Now, here's the thing. I give this kind of caveat because, like I said, when we go back to these rules here, not only these rules, right, which are already a little bit confusing, but we go to here and we see that GX with these 4 wins have not locked playoffs. Maybe this is just a failure of the lol.fandom, algorithm to realize that they've made it because maybe they're just doing it numerically and not based on these edge cases. But also this LEC playoff simulator, which I think we're going to look at this together in a little bit. I believe this also goes over those kind of head-to-head kind of, it keeps track of all that. And even here, you see that Giant X only has, at best, a 98.1% chance of making playoffs. Still a fantastic chance, but if I am not mistaken in my logic, that should already be outright a 100% chance. Anyway, so we have immediately cut it down from a 4-man race to a 3-man race. So we're going to go to the next team. Actually, I'm just trying to see if I'm missing anything here. Well, I think we'll discuss it when we talk about our next team, Movistar KOI. My boys, I haven't talked about them in a while. So, Movistar KOI only needs, is it up here? Oh, I wrote it somewhere and then I deleted it by accident. They only need 1 win to lock playoffs, because at 4 wins, they would tie Fnatic's best case scenario, because Fnatic lost in the head-to-head versus MKOI. And considering that MKOI is playing Shifters as their first match, which we will also go in depth about the schedules here in just a moment, it's the end of week 6 before their crazy week 7. I think this will immediately lock them playoffs. Shifters is 0-7, and no matter how scared I am about MKOI, no matter how harsh I am, I simply cannot, especially with a full week off, and they're coming off of a win in week back-to-back. No, just one big week, or one solid win in week 4, 2-0ing Team Heretics. I absolutely cannot see MKOI losing this match. So again, from my understanding of the scenario, the situation as it is, and plus, oh no, they haven't played anybody else yet. My understanding of the scenario, they will lock playoffs. In the off chance, and I mean literally, it would have to be MKOI being the only team in the league to lose to Shifters. Although technically, who's the other team that's playing Shifters? Oh, also Team Heretics, which I guess Team Heretics could lose to Shifters too. But anyway, they would be one of only potentially 2 teams to lose to Shifters in the whole split. Extremely unlikely, not to mention they are at a unique advantage of having only played 5 of their total 9 series, so they have 3 other chances after this match with Shifters, no matter where it goes. In my opinion, those last 3 matches are difficult, but I still think, especially if their back's against the wall, that MKOI will be able to pull out one of those wins. We will talk about that in just a moment. So that's our scenario with MKOI. Now we go to G2, and this one is literally the most spicy because we've already eliminated GX. MKOI has a very simple goal: just win 1 series and you are out, and you have a very easy opponent to beat. However, G2 needs 2 conditions to be fulfilled. Actually, I'm realizing, I don't know if it's either. I think it's sort of both. Okay. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It is either one of these scenarios has to happen. So, either G2 has to lose... oh my god, sorry guys. G2 has to either win 2 games to put themselves definitively at 5-4 at the very least, if not more, right? And that will put them guaranteed to be ahead of Fnatic, who they have the losing head-to-head against. That will guarantee them playoffs if you put them at 5-4. Or they need Fnatic to lose one of their games, which would put Fnatic at 3-6, which means G2, well, technically, G2 actually needs Fnatic to lose both series. Let me see. Fnatic lose both series. And now I just cut myself off. Apologies. Let me see if I can grab this whole thing. Whoops. If I grab you and I go like this, and I go like this. So, if Fnatic loses both of their series, right, leaving them at a solid 2-7, damn, they only have 2 wins, then G2 is guaranteed. The other scenario is if Fnatic, basically they need to be 1 win above Fnatic. I'm sorry, I know I'm like fucking rambling a bit. If they put themselves 1 win above Fnatic, they lock playoffs, which is why, under the assumption that Fnatic wins both of their series, which is not guaranteed by any means, then they will lock playoffs. Okay, sorry about obviously the last minute adjustments to my slide here. Sorry for my brain farting here, but yes, G2 has to just be 1 win ahead of Fnatic in order to lock playoffs. Now, I will say the unique part here is that they have had their easiest matches so far already, and they have nothing but the most difficult matchups ahead of them. And it's interesting because they've lost some of the quote unquote easier matchups that ended up being very costly now. So losing to Fnatic, bad. Losing to Vitality, not embarrassing, but not great for where G2 needs to be. And now they have to go up against Navi, who is at the top of the table with Vitality, same amount of wins actually. And then they have a monster of a week going into KC, GX, and MKOI. So let's dissect this a little bit. Well, I actually made a slide for this, so let me show you. So, sorry, we're going to look at something a little bit, actually, okay, sorry, I'm going to show you this. So, G2 versus Navi. I think if we were talking, this is week 7, day 3, last series that G2 have to play, and it's a do or die as to whether they make playoffs or not, G2 stomps Navi every single day of the week. I have full faith. I am not going to be clickbaity anymore. I am not going to freaking, what is it called? Like doubt G2 ever again, especially not this roster. And even if they make wild changes, I literally cannot keep doubting G2. They keep making it happen. G2 is going to beat whoever they have to make the playoffs, right? I will say in this scenario where they haven't played for a week, although that probably helps them if anything, Navi's a bit fresh from 3 series last week, and actually I think going 2-1, if I'm not mistaken, and having a good series against KC, even though it was an 0-2. I thought they fought better. Actually, maybe it wasn't that good since they Shifters and Fnatic took them 3 games. Anyway, I could see Navi somehow pulling out a win, especially if G2 hasn't really pulled themselves together just yet. And that is really, really being ridiculously like copium, right? I think G2 is absolutely going to win this. And with this win alone, again, in the scenario that Fnatic still pulls out their 2 wins, you see it kind of gives them an opportunity. Why here is it saying, this is not true. This is not true. Hold up. Let me just double check. If G2, they're saying that G2 is locked, but my understanding is that they would be at 4 and 5, and so is Fnatic, so they would be tied. We'd go to head, and then they would win. Okay, whatever. Point is, this thing is bothering me a little bit. So I think then we go to KC versus G2. I could see KC, who is playing pretty hot right now, beating G2 in a regular season match that isn't that consequential. Now, in LEC versus, I'm pretty sure G2 had KC's number in every single meeting that they had. So I do think G2 is stronger, although KC is extremely close. And I think it just depends on if G2 is in top form or not. KC is a phenomenal team. They are literally flawless right now for the most part, winning a lot of their series 2-0 nonetheless. Their series against Fnatic was close, but I think that is more towards Fnatic's capability rather than a knock on KC. G2 versus GX, I low-key think that especially with GX not having any pressure on them because they have guaranteed playoffs. Again, if I'm understanding this all correctly, my feeling is that GX could totally just roll over and just everybody's going to beat them this weekend. The only team that I think it's 50-50 is MKOI versus GX. And I almost don't even want to say that because I kind of had a similar feeling that like MKOI is a step behind G2 and KC, which especially with a rough regular season, I have to say I think is still true. But when you think about LEC versus playoffs, when MKOI and G2, actually I don't even think they met. I don't recall now. Let me double check that. LEC versus... I know that they played against KC and got dominated, 0-3 Giant X, but I can't remember if, oh my god, hello, get out of my way. I can't remember if MKOI faced them at all. I guess they didn't. Well, long story short, I think MKOI is still, considering that they went to 5 games against KC and they were able to contend, my feeling is that GX is a step beneath them. Even in the head-to-head, I do think Jojo Pune is going to smoke Jackies, considering that Jojo Pune is known for great laning, and it's Jackie's lane presence that has been really lacking on GX or for GX. So I think MKOI should win this match. And then against G2 and KC, who I think are even stronger than MKOI, I think they're going to beat GX as well. That I'm trying to think of where to go from here. I think KC's locked, obviously. I think G2, I just don't see a world that G2 loses to GX. I could totally see, this is like a coin flip, but it's not a coin flip. I think MKOI is a coin flip because sometimes they can just show up on the day, but if I had to bet money, I would put it on G2. G2 versus KC 50-50, but I don't think it really matters because this would put them at 5 wins. That's not even mentioning that they'll probably beat Na'Vi, putting them at 6 wins. And there you go. Also, this is clearly a bit messed up because they're keeping G2 as number 1, even though whatever. Anyway, the one and only thing, and this is genuinely just for shits and giggles, folks, is let's look at the possible scenario that Fnatic qualifies for playoffs, and it's a 50-50 coin flip between G2 and MKOI. So the one and only way this happens is if, first and foremost, Fnatic beats Team Heretics and Team Vitality, putting themselves at 4 and 5, and G2 and MKOI lose every single match until week 7, day 3. Now, this is so ridiculously impossible, but man, it would kind of be fucking crazy. And unfortunately, I would give it to G2 because I just think they're clutch like that. I mean, MKOI kind of has that plot armor too, but I don't know. Anyway, it is the one and only scenario. But the last thing I'll show you super duper quickly is that I kind of highlighted these in terms of likelihood. I wrote green is like, this is guaranteed to happen. Yellow, I'm more on the fence about. And red is an outright, like, I do not see this happening. And so, if I did all my color coding correctly, I absolutely think Fnatic takes down Team Heretics, especially with how well they played last weekend. Against Team Vitality, I feel like if their backs are against the wall, I think they will pull out a win because they have to. I could see them beating Team Vitality, but I could see it. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. I'm just saying it is plausible, right? I think a lot of people are underestimating Fnatic just a bit. G2 versus Na'Vi. This yellow on Na'Vi is me casting doubt, like saying I could see Na'Vi beating G2, but honestly, like I said last week, if Fnatic's firepower was able to possibly, no, they lost. If Fnatic's firepower almost overwhelmed Na'Vi's, then my opinion is G2 has better macro and absolutely better firepower. Better macro than Fnatic and arguably better macro than Na'Vi, considering they beat fucking Gen G and FearX at their best. And they most certainly have better firepower than Na'Vi. I know I'm probably talking way too much about this really small edge case, but I don't know, whatever. 50-50, not 50-50 at all, but more likely that G2 is going to win this. Shifters beating MKOI, extremely unlikely. KC versus G2, complete toss-up. I think this is a coin flip right here. GX beating MKOI, I think that I put it orange because it's more leaning towards red, which in my opinion is unlikely. I don't know why I put KC beating MKOI as unlikely. And honestly, I think I could just outright ignore this. I don't even know why. Maybe this was just to point out that I don't even know if we'd get to this point. Or maybe I was trying to say that I think MKOI is probably going to lose to these two. I don't know. The last scenario, GX. I think G2 beats GX if they need to, if their back's against the wall. If they happen to lose to Na'Vi and to KC and they need this win, they absolutely will. And actually, oh, no. If they win this, let's try it. Oh, wait, hold up. Let me see if okay, cool. If G2 wins this match, but MKOI wins this match, and then MKOI wins this, and then G2 loses this, and G2 loses this. Somehow they're putting G2 up here, but my feeling is that, yeah, so I think G2 has a few scenarios. I wish I could calculate it, and it's not likely, guys. I'm just having more fun with it. I wish this calculator, I'll try to check up on this soon, but my feeling, obviously, I do not see G2 losing to Na'Vi. And I think once they beat Na'Vi, they just need to win one series. So yeah, I mean, they literally need to win 2 if Fnatic pushes them. Anyway, guys, I don't know what else to really say other than I'm going to be watching and I'm going to be making videos, and I hope you guys are ready to enjoy those videos with me. Subscribe if you haven't already. More frequent videos. I'm actually going to film another video right this second, so we got a video for tomorrow, and I'll check up with you guys soon. Let me know if you like the shorter videos. Let me know your thoughts. I keep telling myself I'm going to do a reply to comments video, and I do plan to. Don't know when, though. Anyway, all right, guys. Peace out. Thanks so much for having fun. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.